Oh, what a lad. Well, here he is. One of the biggest superstars of our game is back on What a Lad. He's almost every young kid's favourite player in the country, and for good reason. He's been an absolute excitement machine during his 34 Tasman Mako appearances, his 52 Crusader games, and 31 All Black caps. During that time, scoring a whopping 91 tries, which has left him holding the record for the most fins up of all time. Post the 2023 Rugby World Cup, he was named the best winger in the world. And, of course, he is one of the greatest lads in our game. It is, of course, the champion lad himself, Will Jordan. Welcome, mate.
Jimmy. Jeez, it was a hell of an intro. Second time on the podcast. Pumped to be in studio. Obviously, we had a few sort of sound issues with the first one during an All Black quarantine period. So, nice to be in person and hash it all back out.
So good to have you in person. I think you'd just been sponsored some new dodgy headphones or something that you were trialling out for the first time, was bringing in shocking audio on that first one.
I think that All Black sponsorship's been cut since then. So we've got your tried and trues on. So hopefully it'll be smooth sailing.
Mate, your voice is sounding very crisp through the pod mic, and looking forward to this chat with you. But for the people who are only listening, you're obviously in a sling, right shoulder. You've had your surgery. How is it?
Yeah, it's been going okay. People are probably wondering how I've had a right shoulder injury, given the way I sort of play.
Scoring tries, was it?
How does someone
finishes in the corner?
Yeah, brutal defence is obviously just caught up to me. The shoulder obviously not an ideal situation. I sort of touched on a little bit on my Instagram, but picked up a bit of a kind of tear in my labrum during Super Rugby last year, the semi against the Blues, going for a few jackals actually. So that might be banned moving forward. It was a little bit niggly during the AB season to start off with, and then had a bit of an incident at training where it kind of, aggravated a little bit just before the Irish quarterfinal. So got a cortisone injection for the rest of the World Cup, which was great, kind of got me through. Went and saw a surgeon in November, and because I had the cortisone in, it was sort of feeling pretty good. So the kind of hope was that with a bit of a break and a bit of rehab over summer, it would come right and would still be a bit niggly, but would be able to get through the year. So kind of felt pretty good about that. And then you sort of saw as I came back into contact over the last few weeks, building up into the season, just didn't really cope with that well. And then got another little bump to it in a little internal game, and that was sort of a bit of a sign that it was kind of buggered. So, a bit frustrating having to get it done. I think particularly during Super Rugby, I've had a few kind of interrupted seasons now, so it does start to grate on you a little bit, but I guess I had the sort of hindsight or foresight of knowing that it was a possibility down the road, so maybe a little bit easier to come to terms with than someone who kind of goes into a game with a good shoulder and then it dislocates and then, you're into surgery that next day. So, gutting to miss the Super season, but hopefully some good footy to come the back end of the year, and still try and impart a few wisdoms in the Crusaders while I'm here.
Do you what? But was it always something that you were going to need surgery on? So if it wasn't for this Super season, it may have been for the All Blacks or next Super season.
I think the words the surgeon used was that it was about a sort of 60-40 chance. I think the hope was that because I was an outside back, where the contact load is a little bit lower. That
not for you though, is it?
Compared to, say, a loose forward where you're making, 20 tackles a game, that there's a bit more chance that it could have kind of healed itself or come right. So can definitely see the mirror and giving that process a go. A bit frustrating to kind of not having had it done in November, but in all likelihood it was going to need repairing at some point. So, now was kind of the time it happened.
Yeah, well, disappointing for Crusader fans and Super Rugby, obviously, but definitely light for the All Black games at the back end of this year or even beforehand.
Yeah, I think, we talked about my 34 Tasman caps on there. It's been about 4 or 5 years since I wore that jersey. So, pretty good chance I'll get some rugby in for them. I think my return to play is like roughly kind of start of Mitre 10, or Bunnings, should I say. And the start of the Rugby Championship. We'll work through, Razor work through if he wants me in there or not. likely probably come back with a game or two for Tassie and then kind of go from there. So,
Mate, how good would that be to see you
yeah.
back with a Tassie jersey
Yeah,
on? We bring back the headgear as well. I know that's every Tasman's favourite sight. Will Jordan with headgear on.
The headgear is probably left in the past, I think. Was good for a year.
What about if I get this Waterlad headgear going that Matt Todd's going to be wearing sideline?
If Matt Todd's wearing it, then it'll go worldwide. The headgear thing was all good, but I think, just putting the red jersey on will be. What would you call the Tassie jersey? Red or sort of a
red or blue? A bit of a mix. Yeah, sometimes so, should be a mix, but
a bit of a hopefully a chance to put that back on would be cool.
Well, the Tasman community would be pumped. I'm sure they'd sell out T Park or Lansdowne Road, depending where the game is, if they know their favourite son is back.
Oh, hopefully be sold out anyway, obviously. The good thing for when you go play for a region like that is that they haven't had sort of Super Rugby in their city all year. So it is always quite refreshing going back to a place which is really motivated and excited about the comp. First couple of the home games usually at Lansdowne, so might be in Blenheim for a wee clash maybe.
And do you think you'll have to play that as a form selection for the All Blacks, or do you feel like you've done enough to potentially warrant a spot in that team anyway?
Good question. Text Fraser and find out. I don't know. It's one of those ones where, I think you can never take for granted being picked. So, my mindset will be that, I'll probably have to come back and play a game or two, and hopefully a bit of stuff I've done in the past will kind of be considered, and hopefully I'll get back in the ABs. But certainly, throughout Super Rugby this year, guys are going to put their hands up. So, it'll be on me to kind of come back and, rehab well, be confident around the shoulder, and certainly got a goal to kind of be back for a bit of that rugby championship stuff and then the year tour as well. Yeah,
and I guess a lot of people want to know, a lot of that questions come in is around fullback or wing. You're currently the best right winger in the world. Do you see yourself as more of a fullback or a wing, or have you had any conversations with Leon, I'm guessing, as your man to be talking to, or Razor?
Yeah, I think it's a good question and something that's been always a bit of a discussion sort of during my kind of All Black tenure in particular. I think I've had some great times on the wing, and I feel like that was a really good way to kind of introduce myself to Test rugby a little bit. Like wouldn't necessarily say it's easier, but I think you've got a little bit less responsibility in terms of game management and driving the team around. You can kind of just do your own thing and jam a bit more on the wing. So I think that was good. And obviously we had the fullback competition over the last 3 or 4 years has been pretty strong. Think about from when I've sort of come in, you've had sort of Damien, Geordie, Bodie, myself, even Davey back in the day. There's been some pretty decent kettle running around. So it's hard to be too upset about it. But I think moving forward, fullback would be where I'd kind of like to play. Probably where I enjoy playing the most and feel like I can kind of have most influence. So had a few discussions with Leon about it at the camp in January. He sort of saw it a little bit the same way as a fullback who could play wing. So again, it'll kind of all play out depending on form and how you're playing and team makeup and stuff. But that's definitely kind of where I'm looking forward in this next kind of World Cup cycle where I want to play and kind of stamp my mark. Yeah,
there's been a few changes. I mean, listening to you last time you were on, it was Davey, Geordie, D-Mac. All those guys have now changed positions. Davey's a 12, Geordie's a 12, D-Mac's a 10. Bodie's switched from 10 back to fullback, so he's probably your main fullback competition at the moment. But there's a fair bit of shuffling going on in that back line.
There is a little bit, and I think it's exciting seeing guys kind of been able to master different positions. I know watching Geordie play at 12 has been pretty cool, and the way he's kind of taken to that and changed his game a little bit, it's been awesome to see. And I think everyone can see that Damien's kind of really improved his game over the last 12 to 18 months. Always had the kind of excitement, play from anywhere, great skill set. But I think, with that improved kind of game management, he's becoming a real classy 10, and we've seen that over the first couple of weeks. The difference, particularly when we played the Chiefs, when he was on to when he was off. So maybe that's a secret against the Chiefs. We've got to give those ribs a bit of a tickle up. But no, I think it's cool. And like I say, there's always going to be young guys coming through as well. Ruben Love, Jacob Dunther-Landers, Shea here started the season well. So particularly in the outside backs, there's always kind of young guys coming through. And it keeps you on your toes.
Have you thought about moving back to 9 at any point? I know you're a world-class 9 back at school.
Yeah, I was thinking, I've turned 26 the other day, and I was thinking, how long is my kind of speed going to last? How long can I maintain a reasonable top speed to merit playing in the back three? I think go to fullback helps a little bit with that, so that might give you another year or two. But halfback.
10.
I had a discussion with one of my friends about this the other day, and I was laughed at when I said that you saw me as a potential 10 cover for the Crusaders. So there's a few haters out there around the 10 position, but
don't let them get to you, mate. You've got that game in you. I know. I've seen it.
Yeah, I really, really love that feedback. It's how I feel as well. I think it is something to kind of keep in mind, like what positions you can play. Halfback, probably definitely gone. The rest of the back line probably didn't see it. But I mean, could I see myself getting in my 30s, being able to cover a bit of 10, like goal kicking and the dropouts and stuff, probably the main issue, but something you never know. But probably just mastering the arts at fullback at the moment would be the best thing forward.
Fair enough. And you spoke a little bit around, I guess, the injuries that you've had that are quite frustrating, especially at Super Rugby level. I mean, I think I've only managed to be able to coach you for a couple of games so far, which has been a shame. But last year's injury was quite a unique one, quite a niggly one, frustrating for you to sort of have to deal with. Talk us through a little bit of that.
Yeah, it was a bit of a tricky one. I think just in the sense it was a little bit different than your normal sort of injury. Like the one I've got at the moment, it's obviously a long length of time, but you kind of know what it looks like, how long it's going to be, what the steps are. The one last year was a bit more of a niggly kind of process to manage. And I think particularly with it being a World Cup year, there was quite a lot of kind of pressure, probably internally and also externally, to kind of come right. Like the clock sort of seemed to be ticking pretty fast, and as it got more and more into the Super Rugby season, I still wasn't playing. Certainly it started to grate on me a bit more, and didn't necessarily become a concern for my health, but from a rugby sense in terms of what that was going to look like, did get a bit niggly. So certainly taught me a lot around having a good support network around you, understanding when you kind of need a bit of help. Like I did a bit of work with Kerry Evans throughout the year, just around my kind of thought process and mental state kind of around it and how I was going, and that was pretty important. And I think as well as that, got great support from the teams I was in. Obviously the Crusaders were really helpful around that, kind of not pushing me. And then when I came into the All Blacks, Fozzie and I made the call for me to not go to Argentina for that first test, to kind of give me another week after Super Rugby to kind of just get my feet on the ground and recover from that. So I think injuries are one of those things where they always kind of happen, and you've just got to kind of find a way to kind of deal with it, and different injuries bring different kind of challenges, and that one was a bit around the uncertainty. So I think the key for me around it was just focusing on the day-to-day, like when you kind of projected it out to what it might look like in October or August, there was a lot of kind of uncertainty and frustration and concern that came out there. Whereas when it went a bit more around the day-to-day, what could you do to get kind of come right and get yourself ready, then I found that pretty helpful. Yeah.
Did you ever think that potentially it wouldn't come right, or were you always confident there would be?
No, I was always confident it would come right. Yeah. I think it was just the length of time it could take. Yeah.
And with the World Cup.
The World Cup. I think if it had been like a different year, like if it had been a non-World Cup year, then I would have been, it still wasn't ideal, obviously missing out playing for the Crusaders and all that, but I would have been a little bit more willing to kind of just let it play out. I think with the World Cup, that probably just made me a bit more anxious to kind of come right and to really get myself back out in the field. Still confident we didn't kind of rush the process, and when I did, I was ready to go, so that was good. But certainly there were times where I thought it might not happen, and even just stuff like, you had friends and stuff who were booking trips over to the World Cup. My partner, she was, wondering what was going on. She was keen to head over if I was happening. So you had little things like that going on as well. But it all sort of worked out reasonably well in the end. Got over to the World Cup, and I'm sure we'll touch on that. But a challenging little period, but managed to get through it with a lot of support around me.
Yeah, and before the World Cup, obviously you got your 7th Super Rugby title, so it was very handy from a Crusaders point of view to have you back for the business end of the season. And what did you remember about coming back into that Crusaders environment, playing some big games down that home stretch?
I think the thing I sort of think about when I look back to the last probably 3 or 4 years of the Crusaders titles is when you look at it from a big picture and you go, 7 titles in a row, it sort of makes it seem pretty kind of seamless and as though everything rolled on pretty well.
Yeah.
But like in all of those years, there was the last 3 or 4 years, like there was always like a sort of 3 or 4 game or a month kind of patch. We were actually playing like pretty poor rugby and a bit of chat would start up around, like, is this the end? And guys are getting older and, have other teams worked it out and that sort of thing. And I think that's the important thing for probably the group at the moment to kind of remember is that, like, it is a really long season and you do need to be playing your best rugby in kind of June or May. So obviously the regular season's important to kind of get your flow, but I think every team goes through its challenges and it was the same thing last year. I think lost to the Chiefs a couple of times. And we were just sort of lacking a bit of flow throughout the year. But I think I wouldn't necessarily say it was with my return was the was the turning point. But yeah, certainly towards the back end of the year, I think we started to work out what our identity looked like. And I think in any competition that has a final series, like it ultimately comes down to 2-3 games, how you can kind of perform. So certainly that semi-final against the Blues would be probably the best performance I've been a part of ever in terms of any team I've played in terms of just really nailing it on a day. Like, I think the score was like 52-15 or something. Like, we'd had real trouble against the Blues over the few years before that, particularly at home as well. So I think that just showed where we were kind of heading. And then the challenge, I think, after a performance like that, heading into a final is how do you kind of replicate that? Like, you often see a team play so well and then next week struggles to back it up. So that was certainly in the front of our mind around needing to reset the final, so you're hugely motivated, and obviously the Chiefs had our number a bit, so you're motivated to try and turn that around. But the final, I think, was another case of we weren't necessarily like quite at our best, but I think we sort of took it down to that 60, 70 minute mark. Had a couple of calls sort of go our way. Obviously the try getting disallowed off Damien being offside off the overthrow.
Absolute grub.
Absolute grub, cheat. I actually see they scored a try off that in the weekend. And I was watching the replay to see if he jumped the gun again, but he'd held his line. So took his lessons. But yeah, they got disallowed from the penalty. We went down the other end, I think, scored huge turning points in the game. And then, in the last 10 minutes managed to bring it home. So just shows, fine margins in those games, and what it comes down to is being able to perform, the little skills under pressure. So great way to send off the likes of Razor, Richie, Sammy, and kind of, wouldn't say necessarily close a chapter, but I think this year's a chance to kind of refresh a little bit. Certainly a lot of the same stuff, but also some new stuff coming in, and whilst I won't necessarily be a part of it on the field, excited to see what that looks like.
Mate, you've moved into the coaching room already. And it's been great having you in. Is that something that you've always enjoyed, that off-field, the coaching side of the game?
I think, I've always enjoyed, like, one thing was a bit of a surprise about, like, professional rugby and the environment is how much of the game is strategy, kind of a game of chess, like being able to outsmart your opponent. Like, I didn't really expect that coming in, and I think watching it, maybe I don't understand that as much, but like, you have such thorough meetings throughout the week talking through what your game plan looks like, what you're going to exploit, going through different scenarios, how you're going to react. And I think that's the side of the game that I really enjoy. Like, I guess, trying to win the game kind of up here rather than with your sort of physical gifts as much. So I guess coaching is kind of all about that. So there's certain aspects of it that I think I'd enjoy. I'm not sure if it's necessarily something I'll head down. I might have to put up a chair beside yours in the coach's room and work out if that's the case or not. But certainly coming up with moves or set plays or just a strategy to try and win the game is something I do enjoy doing. Yeah,
and I think that's why you probably like fullback or potentially 10 at some stage, just because of that probably shift on the wing. I guess you feel like you don't have as much influence to be able to win the game with your brain, but fullback and 10, you've got a little bit more say there.
I think so. I think, again, taking the 10 side out of it, which is a bit of a pipe
That's going to be the headline.
And there'll be
Will Jordan eyes up All
and
Black.
there'll be some serious haters out there talking through. I can just see the likes of Richie, Damien, probably Bodie and Geordie, guys who have played there, just Ferg Burke coming in and just hating me, hating my game, hating my skill set, questioning it. But yeah, I think the fullback side of it, you certainly are more involved, particularly in like the kicking battles, which has become a huge part of the game. You know the statistic around it, but the team that kind of wins the kick battles or kick meters wins like 70 or 80% of games.
Yeah.
So yeah, you are a bit more involved, and I think in terms of driving the team around the park, there is a bit more involvement for me at fullback. So that is something I do enjoy from that role as opposed to the wing.
And then post the Super season, you're off to the Rugby World Cup. What was it like going over there?
It was pretty epic, to be honest. Yeah, like you sort of heard going into the season about how World Cups are different, and obviously the pressure and stuff that came with that. But I think it was just an awesome experience. Like you had so many kind of friends and family over there who were soaked up in it as well and loving it. And being in France, like I've been to Paris a couple of times on the end of year tour, just sort of late November. Like it's pretty cold, and Paris is a nice city. There's some great sights, but once you've done those, it's a lot of logistics around long bus rides and that sort of thing. So didn't mind Paris, but didn't necessarily love it either. And certainly going to the World Cup when it was August, September over in France, south of France, like 35 degrees where we were based in Lyon for the first few weeks. Like you could certainly see how the south of France lifestyle would be attractive for a few people to go down there and play. So there was that side of it around just the culture and being somewhere for a couple of months, being able to soak that up. But I think in terms of the rugby, like pretty, I guess, topsy-turvy kind of experience, to be honest. Like the first game was we knew it was a huge game for us. Like All Blacks never lost a pool game and up against the tournament hosts, again, like 35 degrees. Things are going not too bad. We're sort of up at half time, and then I get yellow carded and things sort of go pretty pear-shaped from there. So we end up losing, which to be honest did actually, that was probably in my career the first time I started to kind of get a bit of real head noise around, performance and I guess worrying about outcomes and scenarios and losing games and getting up in the air and all that sort of thing. Probably didn't help that the next week we played Namibia and I got rested. So I wasn't sure if it was rested or dropped at the time. So, and then we had the bye the week after that. So between that French game and our next game against Italy, had sort of 3 weeks of kind of stewing on it quite a bit about the yellow card and the impact that it had. And going into the Italy game, like we were actually reasonably concerned. Oh, concerned's not the right word. We knew that it was going to be a big game against Italy. Like we've seen in the Six Nations this year and last year, like how competitive they'd been. Like I think they didn't win a game in the Six Nations, but I think all their losses had been within like sort of, 5 to 10 points, like kind of here or there. And the way they played with their attack structure had caused us a few issues in the past. Kind of similar to the Irish, with a lot of guys kind of swinging and players out the back. So heading into that game, we're sort of going, well, like over the last few years, we've had a few tough losses for the ABs, and there's been some bad times. Like if we lose this game and we don't make it out of our pool, then like it's just like honestly, like you did think about it a little bit, and I was confident we'd win, but you did have that in the back of the mind, like if we get knocked out in pool play, this is like I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back to New Zealand, sort of thing.
You're living in south of France.
Yeah, this is like. I'm getting a wee job as a kitchen hand or something. There's no rugby moving forward. So like that was actually a pretty tough 3 weeks for me because I was a bit stressed out about it, and did some good work with Gilbert Anoka, kind of getting over the kind of mental hurdle of getting back in the year and competing there, which was a big part of my game. And then the Italy game turned out to be probably just about the best performance of that 4 years for the All Blacks. Like, I think we won like 96-17 or something. Like it was absolute, hiding really.
Yeah.
And the boys all clicked, and defensively, the stuff that we'd been working on kind of all the way through the Rugby Championship with thinking about that kind of attack in mind worked really well. The attack side, the boys are starting to connect. Artie had a freakish game. So off the back of that, I think we felt in a pretty good space. And then heading into Uruguay the next week, again, boys played pretty well. And then, all sort of culminated into that quarterfinal against the Irish, where you sort of knew going into the tournament that it's either going to be them or Africa in the quarter.
Yeah.
And it was just going to be like a huge make or break game. Like all of the sort of 4 years of kind of, I wouldn't say turmoil, but ups and downs and tough periods, like was going to kind of come to a head in that game. And we felt pretty confident about where we were at. I felt like that last year we were really aligned around how we wanted to play, and guys really believed in it. And I think that was maybe the big difference from a few years prior, was that everyone was on the same page, we were committed to it. And then the Irish game, hell of a game of footy.
Oh, best ever.
Yeah. So that was a pretty awesome experience. Like, again, family in the crowd. I remember the final whistle kind of going off right down the 22, which was right in front of where all our family kind of seats were. There's probably, I don't know, a couple of hundred people maybe. And it was just, like a pure jubilation, kind of, I don't know, relief, but like just, excitement around it. Certainly a game I'll never forget. And then, the rest of the tournament rolled through from there.
How were your nerves going into that game? You spoke about sort of the head noise from the French game. I guess this was this was a bigger game than that one in terms of what it actually meant. Going into that game, day before, day of, night before, how are you feeling?
I remember just having the mindset of like, just seeing it as like a just straight final, like just kind of took the quarterfinal aspect out of it and was just like, let's just leave and just give everything you've got for this one game, which is what you have to do for all kind of finals games. But I think there was like no looking forward to next week or the week after. It was like, just put all that energy into this game. And I think there was definitely a lot of nerves, but I think actually felt pretty good about it. Like, I think, like I said, the team was kind of on the same page. A lot of our game plan and structure, like we'd played in the rugby championship, like with an eye to playing Ireland. So we basically spent like a couple of months, like almost preparing for that game. Like the coach had actually done a good job around having us really ready for it. So that was a credit to them. And there was obviously a lot of motivation around what had happened the year before when we lost them in New Zealand, and kind of feeling about that and a few things that have been said and whatnot. So there was definitely nerves, but I think also there was actually a bit of excitement around getting out there, kind of trying to get stuck into them. And like I say, just leave it all out there.
And the final?
The final? The final is a bit of a tough one. I think, there's probably a few more just straight nerves for that. I mean, it's World Cup finals, so there's always going to be a bit of that. Again, like, pretty good kind of week's prep. We'd played well the week before against RG again, so the boys were in a good space. We knew the Africans were going to be a real tough clash. Like, you've kind of just got to respect their ability to kind of stay in games, and they know their DNA so well. And they're a tough team to play against, so we were kind of prepared for that. The game itself, like, just a pretty weird game of footy, to be honest. Like, I remember the first sort of probably 20 minutes feeling like under siege a bit, to be fair. Like, we sort of, Shannon got yellowed. They came out with a bit of a hiss and a roar, kicked quite well, kind of stuck us in our own half a lot. Felt like we couldn't really get anything going. I think the conditions were quite wet, which probably didn't suit us. And we stayed in it, but particularly myself, other guys, like in terms of ball handling and skill set and stuff, probably let ourselves down a little bit. So that was definitely frustrating. And then obviously Sammy's red card. I think at that point we were down maybe 9-3, and then we got it back to 12-6 at half time, and you sort of felt like you're still on a bit of an uphill climb. Like, playing with 14 men is obviously not easy. But there was also a bit of belief around kind of what we'd done the back end of the half and being able to get into the game. And I think the next sort of 20 minutes from 40 to 60, like, we were really plugging away at their line. Had the try disallowed to Nug, which was disappointing, and made a couple of errors right on the goal line, which probably hurt us. And then finally managed to score with Bodie sliding over in the corner, and all of a sudden it was 12-11, and what had sort of felt like a bit of an uphill task now felt pretty on. Like, remember Bodie sort of diving over him at the halfway, and everyone was like, right, like, we actually, like, generally, like, we always believed we could win it, but now it was like, right, we're actually just one more kind of moment away from getting there. Unfortunately, yeah, that moment didn't quite happen, and we threw kind of everything into it, but again, you've just sort of got to respect the Springboks' ability to kind of withstand pressure and just pull out tight games. Like, I think they won the quarter, semi and final all by 1 point, which some people would kind of say is a bit of a fluke, but like, it's actually just not. Like, good teams have the ability to win tight games, so got to respect that. And yeah, certainly there's plenty of moments in that game I'll look back on and not fond of, or still kind of keep you up at night a little bit. So it's one of those things where losing a World Cup final does kind of hurt, and I'm definitely not over it yet. Like, there's still a lot of, like I say, thought that goes into it. But yeah, the beauty of footy is kind of rolls on, and I don't really get another chance to bury the demons too quickly, which probably doesn't help. Thought the 3-week break after the French game was bad. It's about a 9-month break after the World Cup final. Might have to go play a game of touch or something to try and just get some excited about what it kind of looks forward to. But as a whole, World Cup was an awesome experience, like something I'll never forget. And yeah, just the moments that go with it, both the highs and lows, pretty crazy.
Yeah, and to be named best winger from the World Cup, how does that feel? You've spoken about probably a poor start, poor finish individually, but in between, you obviously, I think you scored the try of the tournament. You scored about, 8 tries? So almost broke the record for most tries at a Rugby World Cup, men's Rugby World Cup, should I say. I know you probably keep that one to Richie Mwanga for not giving you that pass. How was that moment? Did you ever?
Nah, the thing about the part, I was actually genuinely, like, obviously you could say, I was all good with it. I was genuinely actually 100% all good with it. Because one, like, as I said at the time, like, Richie put me over for that many tries in my career that it just wasn't even funny. Like, won that night already with the big bridge, and then obviously the week before against the Irish, he set me up for that try as well. So I was all good about it. And the other thing I thought about it was, like, you don't really want to break the record off sort of a few walk-ins. And like, my first 2 tries against Argentina had just been kind of catch and put it down.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of those against Uruguay as well. So I was like, it'd be good to sort of, and in my mind, I was like, it'd be cool to break it in the final or actually do it off a try that, had a bit of merit, because anyone can sort of catch it and put it over the line. So I was actually all good about it. And we're obviously focused around winning it. So
you're still filthy, I can see it.
I felt bad about it, because Rich is like a great guy.
Yeah.
It's not like him, and I was happy for him to back himself, but he felt quite bad about it.
Yeah.
And so that's the only thing. I went up to him like after the game, then on Monday, and because he kept apologising.
Yeah.
And I said, like, I need you just to just bury it.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually all good about it.
Yeah.
Like, as I said, set me up for so many tries. Again, in the final, and another day, when I set Nug up for a great try. So that was the only thing that came out of it, was just making sure he wasn't holding any kind of reservations from it.
Yeah.
And he was happy to go out there and back himself and throw the dummy on the last guy again.
Well, I guess a lot of people he was copying it from were people who had triple captained you in fantasy rugby, which was going wild at the time. It was good to have some fantasy rugby, and I'm sure a lot of people were probably messaging you around, and whether you're in the team or if it's your week to be triple captained or
just you.
Well, thanks for the insight, because I guess some of the games, you got some massive scores, and
I think you and I have discussed this a lot, but it's definitely a growth we can have in the game, I think, around that fantasy space. Like, I love playing NBA, kind of NRL fantasy, and it does make you a lot more invested, into what's going on, how your players are going. I feel sorry for anyone who took me early in the Super Rugby draft.
You would have been first pick for many in Super Rugby draft.
Yeah, I've had that before, where I've had Anthony Davis a couple of times in NBA fantasy, and he gets injured, and you're like, I hate that guy. Like, actually, it's like, like, you do sort of feel that. So I'll look down the camera for this one. Anyone who has me in fantasy, I'm sorry that I haven't been able to deliver for you this year. Hopefully, moving forward, I can be of service. But that is a key part of engaging fans and having people involved and talking about it. So
rugby's 100% dropped the ball on this over the last sort of 5 years when fantasy rugby was massively growing in other sports, and especially Super Rugby in particular just haven't picked up on it. And like you say, like engagement, investment into the games. I was getting up to watch Portugal play another minnow at 3 a.m. in the morning just to check how many tackles and points Martins had got for me for that weekend. So like, it just shows I'd never get up and watch those games if it wasn't for fantasy rugby. And I think a lot of, especially young people, actually probably any aged person, like struggles to sit down and watch a full game of rugby without having something to give
context,
in a dopamine hit, which would be an updated score of Will Jordan's points after a few tries and line breaks. So
I think, in fairness, like I think post the World Cup kind of spectacle that the final was, and just around the amount of different things that are competing for people's eyes at the moment.
Yeah.
So many different sports, so many different channels. Like I think in the last few months there has been a bit of a shift towards being more fan-centric.
Massively.
Keeping the game entertainment, stuff like fantasy and that sort of thing. So I think there has been a positive shift, and particularly at a franchise level. Like I think Super Rugby, obviously it's like you're in the market of winning, and that's the most important thing for us. But I think as a competition, like entertainment, playing a good brand is like pretty important. I think the tough part is around trying to find where that fits into Test Rugby a little bit. Like, I think definitely there's rules and stuff they can bring in which can make the game quicker, speeding up scrums, the stuff around the offside, the DuPont law, we call it, around, which we've used a bit for the Crusaders, but it's now been outlawed. Like stuff like that are great shifts, but I think Test Rugby, like you've also at the heart of it, you've kind of got that set piece, kind of grind, like defence is kind of part of its DNA, and I think the purists enjoy that side of it. So it's balancing how you kind of find that, but certainly, everyone loves kind of seeing tries or line breaks and that sort of thing. So how can you speed it up? How can you make the game more interactive is a pretty important thing. Yeah,
and I think Super Rugby are doing it really well at the moment. You look at the early rounds of this season, the quality of the product has actually been incredible, and it's just how we sort of grow that engagement and the rest of it. And I know it's something that you're quite passionate about, so potentially life after rugby, if not a coach, I'm sure you'll be pulling some strings in that area some way.
Yeah, geez, the PDM, like Jenny will be happy with the amount of off-field opportunities I've got coming up. But no, you're right. I think watching those games in the weekend from Super Round, like all of them were high quality, quite close games. So I think the other thing about it is just being like positive around the game. Like, there's a lot of issues going on, and like it's important to address those and have them working in the background. But I think if you're constantly kind of looking for things that are negative, like you'll find them.
Yeah.
And I think stuff around the media, like trying to be more positive about what's going on, the good things that are being done is important to, just keep positivity going. Because, like you say, when you consider the negative stuff, it kind of just brings the whole kind of mindset around the competition and the game down.
100%. And for some reason at the moment, everyone who likes league feels like they have to fully bag on rugby union.
Yeah.
It's like you can't like both for some reason at the moment. You're either full on union or full on league, and you have to hate everything about the other sport.
Yeah, I know. So like there's a huge correlation between the two games. Like I enjoy watching league, and I think the league players are kind of the same. Like a lot of them watch union. It's probably more the fans that are a bit more like, it's this or that, but enjoying both, sweet.
Yeah, and you spoke around, I guess, a little bit of life after footy. I think last time you were on, you had 5 papers to go before a degree.
I've got 4 to go now. So
it's been a successful 2 years.
There's been much ticked off. Must have been 7 or 8 last time we were on, maybe. 4 to go now, and my commerce degree. So doing a couple this semester, which will leave me with 2 to go, which is, getting pretty close to the finish line. So it'll be good to have that done. Like this is my 9th year at uni now, which just seems ridiculous. And you actually only have 10 years to finish your degrey.
Oh, wow.
So like I'm actually genuinely on the clock to get it done.
Is now a good time for you to bang those last 4 out or no?
No, I couldn't quite bring myself to go back to kind of full-time study. I've obviously got a few things going on with rehab and being in here and helping out. So, I couldn't quite commit to the 4, but do 2, probably do 1 in second semester and then do a summer school or 1 next year. But it does seem crazy that I've been out of school for 9 years now. I don't know how I quite feel about it. But, I think I think last time we were on, I talked about maybe like player agency or that sort of thing, being interested. I think stuff around kind of sports administration or sports business, like it's such a growing field, is something that I'd be interested in.
Yeah.
Whether it's with NZR or whatever, then you kind of wait and see. But it's certainly a growing kind of thing. I think the stuff we talked about around fan engagement and that kind of commercial side of it's really important. So a little bit of interest in that there.
Mate, you'd be good. And what's stopped you getting those papers done more, your rugby or your golf?
I would say, to be fair, I do play a lot of golf. But, I have been pretty good around, like, just trying to do. I had the semester off the second semester last year off because obviously the World Cup was going on and wanted to focus. So
that's fair.
I didn't have the golf off the second semester last year, unfortunately. But yeah, I think it is important to try kind of do something in that space. I've always tried to do like one paper a semester. I've had a few kind of degree changes and major changes, that sort of thing, which has sort of pushed it back a bit. But yeah, it is important to have something going in that off-field space. I think just to kind of distract you a little bit, if nothing else.
Yeah, and I guess this shoulder injury has been a real niggly one for your golf game because by all accounts you were just starting to come into some really good form.
Yeah, it is a niggly or just a complete kind of end to the golf game is probably a better way to put it. I did actually, 2 days before I had the surgery, because I wasn't that sort of playing golf, like with just the way it sort of worked, it was more the contact. And obviously I was getting surgery on it, so I was like, I'll go and have a couple of rounds. And I did actually shoot my career best 73.
Did you?
One over.
Oh, just before.
Christchurch Golf Club. Yeah, just before. So that was almost a bit gutting because it was like, oh, my game's starting to come right, and now I've got this huge hiatus. But good opportunity to, find a few other hobbies and things to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, the golf side of it's obviously great. Great mates who play it. Good way to kind of just get away from the game. Like you need those fun things you do away from it to kind of keep you fresh and keep you motivated about turning up to do things, just give you a different perspective. So I will definitely miss that for the next 6 months, however long I'm kind of out for.
Yeah.
I'll give the likes of Ferg Burke and Tom Christie and those guys a chance to get their handicaps a little bit lower.
Where were you on the rankings? Because last time you were on, you were 7th on that was the All Black ranking.
All Black rankings.
Probably 5th in Crusader rankings. Now now I don't know where you are.
I'd say I'm probably 2nd or 3rd Crusader rankings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All Black rankings. Very fancy you ask. I'd say I'm probably, around that sort of 4 or 5 mark.
Oh, wow. So you climbed up a few.
Yeah.
Your game did grow.
Like Aaron Smith, he was probably a bit better than me, but he's left.
Yeah.
Obviously, Geordie is great. Bodie, Damien.
Then you're in around there.
Right around there with Damien.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're ahead of Anton still.
Anton. Well, the thing is, Anton reckons that his poor performance in golf was due to the shoulder surgery he had a couple of years ago.
So we'll see.
He's planting seeds in my head that my game's going to go with the Dogs, which is a little bit concerning. But Anton, he's in a league of his own.
The part of, I guess, another sport that sort of did go to the Dogs for you was the Black Clash. I'm reluctant to bring it up, but for years you've been the cornerstone of that rugby side, top scoring, opening the batting, most events, but this one was different. What happened? Talk us through it. Must have been the niggly shoulder.
To be fair, definitely playing in that game and trying to throw a cricket ball was a bit of an insight as to the shoulder not being in great space. Like, anyone out there has had a torn labrum. Like, if you try throw a cricket ball or any ball, it is horrific. So maybe that was in the back of my mind. I probably didn't prep as well as I had in previous years.
Yeah.
My mates used to have a social T20 team, so in the summer I used to play a couple of games for them. I'd say maybe got a little bit complacent about my form. I think I was averaging about 57, probably had quite a decent strike rate going to it previously, so maybe I thought I was a bit better at cricket than what I actually was. But yeah, in the field first, like last ball of the innings, dropped a catch. That was disappointing.
Headspace was gone.
Went out to bat, and hang about this is, I'll try to feel this story, but 2 years ago, Anton Devsic, he actually played for the rugby team as a wild card.
Yeah.
And we have a net on the day of the game. I remember facing him in the nets, and like you think he's bowling left arm orthodox, but he's actually just bowling these like kind of slow in swingers.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know what it was, but I just couldn't hit him. Like in the nets, I just like literally couldn't hit him.
Yeah.
And so I remember sort of thinking like, geez, I'm glad I don't have to face that guy. And then he was also playing for team cricket last year, but I thought, like, you know, he'll bowl in the sort of middle overs and I'll probably be out by then opening. So I said to Rito, like, I'll face first ball. We go out to bat, and I see him at the top of his mark, head off, ready to bowl. And I was like to Rito, I'm like, nah, I don't want to bar of it. You get to face first ball.
Yeah.
So he's like, all good. First ball, he hits a single, and then I'm on strike. And I'm like, oh, no. First, we're chasing like 230 or something.
You'd set yourself up for that.
Mentally, like, mental skills go out the window. Like, I'm just deeply concerned. Chasing like 230 or something ridiculous. Like, you would have thought maybe the cricketers might have just taken a bit of a, you know, gas off the pedal and set us 180 or something to chase, not going at 12s. But the first 3 balls, I've kind of like, hit to the field, and I'm sort of on none off 3, and I thought, like, it's just time to get on the other end and just get off strike. I wanted to just clip one down to long on for a single, and actually quite a good ball, I thought. Swung out a bit, and the off stump's kind of been cartwheeled. And I look back, and he's just sort of standing there, like, head in his hands. Like, last thing, after they've set 230, and then it was a top order collapse. And then Brian Lara, he got bowled in the next over, and they do the whole, like, no ball, fake no ball. I was gutted. I thought he was there for me. But nah, I think, as I say, I'd had a good run, dropped the average down a bit, probably humbled me a little bit.
Were you disappointed with Brian Lara? I guess that's why the cricketers felt like they needed to get such a big score, because the legend was at the crease.
I think
he was struggling to even see it.
I think, to be fair, I think he is 53, 54. So, like, he's probably a little bit older than anyone else out there. And potentially talking afterwards, like, he was probably from more of an era of test cricket, one dayers.
Yeah.
I think in terms of more just, you know, manoeuvring around the field, 1s and 2s, along the ground, sort of 4s and stuff. So potentially the T20 kind of chasing 230 maybe wasn't his game. And like you say, like, it's probably been 20 years since he was playing. So hard to be too critical of him, but wasn't, compared to our wild card in previous years, we'd had sort of Brendan McCullum or guys like that, Mahela J. Warden or Matai Lutheran. Probably didn't have quite the same impact, but enjoyed talking to him. He's obviously a legend of the game. So as a cricket fan, it was pretty cool to be able to get a photo with him and have a yarn.
Yeah, and JT as well. I mean, Jonathan Thurston, one of the greats. Did you manage to have a beer with him?
Yeah, had a beer with him. He was pretty keen on a beer. Great man. Like, you could sort of see from the way he entertains, like, just a great personality, his authentic self. He probably played better than Brian on the night. He got like 17 or 18, I think. So
he looked like
to show what a ridiculous game cricket is.
Yeah.
But he was the man. Happy to kind of chat about anything, real open. Great entertainer.
Yeah, how good. Okay, one thing before we get to our questions is the Perks Committee. I know yourself, you're the head of Perks Committee for the Crusaders. You've had to take over Richie Mwanga's boots there, which is not easy. He offered a lot of perks. You've called in Waterlad into the Perks Committee, so I'm grateful to be part of it. And I just we need to sell. How are we going to get more perks for the Crusaders this year? Yeah,
look, it's been a bit of a tough transition, to be honest. Richie was obviously a huge candidate, and you've come in, Ferg Burke's come in. I'm not sure how much value he's providing at the moment.
He's added nothing.
On the field or off the field, it's just been an absolute waste. He's coming back soon, though, on the field, which is exciting for him and for us. But, we had a wee giveaway on Monday. Fiji Airways, they'd come to the party, put up some flights for one of the players. So in the process of giving that out. But
that's cool.
We do need to get some perks for the environment. So anyone out there, if you want to, provide anything for the Crusaders fellas, then I'm all ears.
Could be anything, right? As small or as big as you want. And send it to you or send it to Crusaders. How does it work? Let's say there's a company out there who've got 500 brand new electric toothbrushes they want to give Will Jordan and the Perks Committee so that
if it's a big scale thing, then it's probably more of a through the Crusaders.
If
it's a smaller thing, then I think going through your channels, you kind of got a bit of delegation. You can filter through.
Okay, that's my role. I'm the packager.
Your role. You're the packager. Would be good.
Okay.
As I say, I'm not providing much on-field value at the moment as well. So
but this is where you'll come in really hot for the boys. So looking forward to it. So if you do have anything, send me a message and I'll package it up and distribute it to the boys to promote on their socials or whatever you're after. We'll come up trumps there as a Perks Committee. But we will get to the questions, and I say every time, even when guys don't get a lot of questions, that they bring in 1,000 questions. But you literally had thousands. Will Jordan, so many are about your speed.
Okay.
I guess the first question, fastest 100-meter time. Did you ever record one?
I actually get this a bit. Like, I actually just haven't done 100 meters for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, probably since I left school. We measure kind of top speeds.
GPS.
Yeah, GPS, that sort of thing. So that's kind of the metric we use. The fastest I've ever run is about 36k an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Which I actually did here once. And actually, when that try against Ireland, run away for that, I actually hit it then as well.
Oh, did you? 36.
So it was a good time to kind of hit the top speed.
You had to,
But,
adrenaline.
Yeah, I know I've talked about this a little bit. Like, probably in terms of my numbers, like particularly over 10 meters and stuff, my speed probably isn't actually as quick as other guys, but people sort of have the perception that I am quite fast. And I think once it gets up to a top end, then I can kind of get there. But I think going back to what we talked about before, like around probably like, I'd say game understanding, kind of anticipation probably makes me look a bit faster than what I am, because I'm sort of often maybe seeing it a bit quicker or accelerating that little bit faster to kind of get in support. I think, kind of creates the perception that I'm maybe going a bit faster than I am, because maybe compared to other people I'm running quicker. So I think there's a little bit of an element to that. But I don't know. I would actually like to run 100 metre to see what it would kind of be.
One event that I've always thought about, I'd love to run, I would have had 100 metre
All-Star weekend.
Where you've got your top 10 fastest rugby players all going at it.
It would be, and people would be interested in it.
Oh, people love it. It's a question that comes in every time. Who's the fastest All Black? Who's the fastest player? People are very interested. You could go forwards, you could go get the women involved, you could get Heartland, you could get all sorts of, even other sports. Mate, everyone wants to know.
Would create a lot of interest,
It'd be like going to the Cup Week at Riccarton, and we've got Will Jordan jumping out the gates.
What am I paying you?
To win the 100 metre, I reckon you'd probably be second favourite behind Rico, going off what I've heard and seen.
Yeah, it's probably fairish, I think. Yeah. As I say, it's hard to know without really like it's not often you just get the chance to actually line up along someone and rip into it. Can everyone hold a ball in two hands and run? That's probably
that is it, eh? Because you've got no arm drive naturally.
Yeah, I know.
You just...
It's just a weird... Yeah. It's weird. I don't know. People always say that, like, I just run with the ball with two hands and almost run faster with the ball than I do without it.
Yeah.
So maybe that needs to be added into the elements.
Yeah, so another one is like, how did you get fast, or like, how do you train your speed? I know this was the first off-season you actually got some speed coaching, didn't you?
Yeah. It's something I've become more conscious of. Like, as you get older, obviously your speed does drop off, so I'm conscious of trying to improve it. I think most up until now it's probably just been pretty natural. Like, I've always had kind of reasonably big, strong legs. Our body's a little bit different. But like, I've always, in terms of power and stuff in the gym, actually been not too bad around the squat and stuff. So there's a bit of that. Technically, not anything that great. So that's something I'm trying to work on at the moment, and probably over the next few months I'll re-engage with the speed coach I was working with, and just try and really maximise what I can get out of it. I think speed, agility, evasiveness, like as a back three player, is just hugely important. Like a lot of your stuff comes down to one-on-one battles, me have to beat a man. So as I get older, I'm definitely conscious of trying to do that. And the one thing I have kind of learned is that, like, you can't get faster without actually just running fast. Like, it's easy kind of during the course of a season when you've got a bit of a tight hand. You don't actually run fast with a tight hand, but like, you got a little niggle, and it's easy to say, oh, I'll just flag it for this week. But unless you're kind of actually exposing yourself to like real top end and the technical stuff you do, the stuff you do in the gym, like, that'll definitely helps and is important, but actually just running fast and getting those reps in is key. It's
interesting, like how you are one of the fastest players in the game, yet technically not a great runner, and you've just sort of done it naturally. It's interesting.
Yeah. So I think that's the other side of it, is like, you've got to kind of correlate between like what's technically good as a sprinter, like kind of having long strides and high knee lift and that sort of thing, versus on a field where you're trying to
change direction
and beat guys. So there's a bit of like, I think, and that's kind of do with anything, like you've got technique, but then it's also about what's actually relevant on the field and what correlates. So it's trying to work all that out as well.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, next one. How did Will Jordan adjust to the quick rise in fame and success in the black jersey? How'd you handle it, mate?
I don't know. I think, like, looking back, it all happened kind of pretty quickly, and I think probably the try scoring stuff is a thing that's probably given me a bit of like acclaim. Or so a few people have kind of got caught up in that a little bit, and I think the key part about it is just having like good mates around you who kind of keep you grounded. I think it's the main thing. Like, both schoolmates and guys you knew before you became a rugby player, and also guys you're currently in the environment with, just kind of keeping you grounded. I think also just understanding like where you're kind of really at and where you sort of want to get to. I remember a couple of years ago we had an All Black meeting, and it might have been my second year, and at this point, like, we played Super Rugby, and you kind of get caught up in a bubble of sometimes of, you play well in Super Rugby, and then you sort of think like you're a world-class player, and I sort of probably thought that as well. I was like, I'm ready to go, and I remember Fozzie sort of saying like, the only thing that makes you a genuinely world-class player is doing it on the world stage, and big tests, and overseas environments, big games. And so that's something I've always kept in mind around sort of, not necessarily no matter how good you are, but like there's always kind of levels to keep going up, like, and there's always ways to kind of improve. So big thing for me is about trying to maximize like the most of my abilities. So, I've always tried to keep pretty kind of level in that sort of sense, knowing that one, you're only kind of a bad game away from copping a lot of heat, and there's that side of it. And also like, I've still got, hopefully a lot of upward trajectory to go in my kind of rugby journey.
Exciting. And you mentioned the tries. This has come in. What skill do you have that means you have so many try scoring opportunities? What is it about your game?
I think, probably one that stands out is just the anticipation. Like, the other thing would be, like, I do watch a lot of, like, clips and watch a lot of rugby and do invest a lot of time, like, mentally into kind of thinking about different scenarios. So I think just, trying to, one, just, I guess, read the play a little bit around where the ball's going to go or where the space is and trying to get there. And then probably just a bit of communication around, like, really just yelling for it. Like, if I'm in space, whatever, I'm out on the outside, then, like, communicating that so you do kind of get the ball. Like, I think communication's always been something that I've kind of tried to be, reasonably strong at. I think it's important throughout all levels of rugby. So I think those are kind of the main ones. Just support play and seeing space and communicating it.
Yeah, well, mate, you're better than anyone at it. Are you eyeing up Doug Howlett's 49 try scoring record? You're 31 and 31. That's a strike rate. Wow, Doug Howlett 49. Okay.
Yeah, I think definitely the start of my All Black career and like the first couple of years, it wasn't something I was kind of either thinking about or had a goal. I think probably over the last like 12 months, I've got like a little bit closer. I think it's something that like would be kind of cool to do. Like I wouldn't lie and say that I wouldn't not want to be the All Black leading try scorer. Like I think it would be pretty sick. And I remember saying to Sam Whitelock, like I'm probably never going to get to his games record of 152. So the try scoring record's the only thing that's probably in reach for me. But I think the other thing about it I've sort of thought of is that like if I get there, it means that I probably played another, at least sort of 3 or 4 years for the ABs and got through the next World Cup. So that's a big motivation of mine, having signed for 4 years, is to get through to the next World Cup and have another crack. And I think kind of a byproduct of playing well enough to be in the All Blacks would be that probably after 4 years I'd be getting, if you crunch the numbers, like around that sort of...
You're well past it, aren't you?
Around that sort of thing. So that's kind of, something that motivates me a little bit is like, playing well enough to be in the team for another cycle would give me the opportunity to do that. So
does fullback increase or decrease your chances there?
I would say decreases slightly.
You're not on the end of the chain as many.
I'd say slightly decreases, So I have to, crunch numbers. 10 would just be an absolute dire for it. But it's one of those things where like you're not necessarily, you're not getting real hungry for it or, starting to do it Richie does and not passing guys up. Nah. But like, it would be
still filthy.
it would be cool to do it.
Okay, next one. How would you go in the NRL?
I don't know. I think some of those carries off the back fence in the NRL, like they're not probably my cup of tea. I think you do get a lot of like counter-attack opportunities and kind of sweeping out the back and stuff. So that some parts of it, I think, would suit my game a little bit, but other parts, maybe not so much. I haven't really ever played league or kind of, it's not something I've ever really considered, to be fair. Like, I don't think it's in my future heading down that path.
No.
A few guys are I enjoy watching it, but some other guys are a bit more serious about it and either played it in the background or thought about it. It's just, for me, I think, it's not something that's kind of in the pipeline.
Yeah. What about NFL? This one came in. If you played NFL, what position would you be? You'd be like a Reece Samet.
Yeah, well, it's topical at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
With him going over it and playing, which I think you got to respect, really. A guy chasing his dreams and, wanting to kind of test himself in another environment. Like, good on him. I think, I mean, like a wide receiver or a punt returner or something is probably close you can get. My shoulder's buggered for throwing, so unfortunately, quarterback's out the door.
You would have been a terrible quarterback. Punt return, it's probably
probably
sense.
those two. But again, I mean, it's hard to. It'd be a tough transition. It's hard to actually know. Like, even you watch it, like, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, but obviously, wherever they're kind of going and the plays they run are all choreographed, so there'd be a lot to learn. It'd be interesting to see how Louis goes, because it'll, I guess, provide a bit of a, like Jared Hayne and a few other guys have done it, but I guess from a union point of view, be interesting to see, and create a bit of a pathway potentially. Yeah,
will be interesting. Okay, favourite international try?
Probably got a couple. I think probably going to rattle off three. Doesn't really kind of work, but
three will do.
I think the try against the Irish in the quarterfinal was probably like my most sort of important try, in the sense of like Protesty by 8 or whatever and winning the game, and it was obviously in a huge game. So that one's probably up there in terms of, I'd say most important.
Yeah,
I think probably the one where I've like heard the crowd and like felt the energy off it would be again against the Irish, the try scored in Wellington, off the inside ball from Artie. Like, that's probably the real one where I remember like running and like just feeling like I had the crowd kind of on their feet and then behind me, and we ended up losing that game, which was not as memorable, but like we had a big comeback and that sort of got us back to within like a point or two. So that one, I certainly felt the support of being New Zealand was pretty cool.
That's cool.
My first couple in that game against RG, still pretty cool. Like, obviously my debut had gone poorly. It was the last game of the year. Sort of got those 2 intercepts in a couple of minutes. Like, that was still, pretty awesome buzz. So those four for sort of different reasons.
So many tries.
Those four for probably different reasons.
Yeah.
But I think, the one against the Irish in the quarterfinal, like, didn't necessarily do too much for it. Sort of caught it 30 yard and ran it home. But in terms of the moment and stuff, mate, the one against RG in the semi as well. That was, there's a few to work from.
That was a try, actually, that RG one, wasn't it? Just chip and chase.
Yeah.
Oh, try.
It's amazing how much that, like, a few of those, just that inside ball off the sort of first receiver, like the amount of tries we sort of scored off that play.
Yeah.
Like, the quarterfinal was a similar sort of thing where I was meant to get on the inside, but then Richie just made a great read because their hooker held off. He went through.
Yeah.
The next week with Artie on the inside, even in the French game, it wasn't an inside ball, but Artie with the chip kick was off the same sort of thing. Like, it was a profitable move for what was kind of just an inside ball off,
It's not what the move is, it's who it is. And it's finishing. Okay, last question. Best piece of advice you have for a Waterlad listener? I've always loved getting your advice over the years. And
I think I'll keep this one actually slightly rugby specific. I think, like, there's a bit of a perception out there that, like, hard work has to be like is strictly like physical, like someone who kind of works hard in the gym or trains really hard, like physically. And I think that's obviously a huge important thing, like being fit and being, body prepared for rugby is massively important, don't get me wrong, but I think people probably underestimate how much gain you can get from working hard off the field in terms of like the amount of kind of homework or preview work you're doing mentally, what you're kind of churning through each week, visualization, trying to put yourself in scenarios, just like learning the game, and also working on your skill set. Like, sort of something that probably bugs me a little bit about rugby is how, like, in our off seasons, like, we'll get an off season plan, and it's your time to kind of get away from footy, and I get all that, but it's like strictly physical stuff. And I think something that they do well in the NBA is you see guys in the off season, and it's like they're working on adding a new kind of move to their repertoire or working on their skills. And I think, like, the physical side's hugely important, but at the end of the day, like, I think being a really good rugby player comes down to being able to perform your skill set, understanding the game, and I think that can give you a bigger leg up than necessarily what extra miles, like in the gym, whatever it might be. I'm not the biggest guy sort of physically up top. I don't necessarily love the gyms, probably ties into that, but I think, yeah, you can be a hard worker without necessarily being someone who's last off the training pitch or that. Like the extra half hour you spend late at night watching clips or in your book reviewing, people might not see, but it's, for me, it gives you the same or even if not more benefit.
Oh, not a truer word has been spoken. That is.
You're loving that.
I love that. I love that because all those games you've spoke about, Rugby World Cup, the Super Final, those things, they're not won because someone was 1 kg stronger on a bench press. They were won because someone had done a little bit more homework, or they understand the game a little bit better. They like you said, it's a game of chess. Being able to manipulate the opposition or put other teams under pressure is what's winning the game. It's not the 1 kg extra on the bench. So even though I loved the bench, it didn't help me.
When you told me that you benched 150 before, I honestly couldn't believe it.
I genuinely used to have a strong bench, but on the field, it didn't make me any stronger. I'd still get skittled when trying to tackle. But that is a good way to wrap up the podcast. Appreciate you coming on, mate. Like, you're a true legend of the game. It's been awesome being able to coach you the last few games in the last 2 years. But you're a legend, and I'm looking forward to working with you, hopefully behind the scenes this year, and then over the next few years when you're back on the field ready to tear it up.
Beauty. Thanks, Jimmy. Plenty of free time for me at the moment, so good to be able to come into the potty, talk about a few things. Hopefully people get something out of it, maybe a few laughs if nothing else. And like you say, hopefully back on the field before we know it.
And a few perks. If no laughs, a few perks.
Yeah, exactly. Something good's going to come with it, surely.
Oh, you're a lad.